Do the old-fashioned, yeah.
Can you hear the intro?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
So I got that fixed.
Sounds like I'm on hold.
Yeah.
Ow now, brown cow. Ow now, brown cow.
Yes! Hello.
If you were a man, I'd punch you.
Welcome to another episode of the Music Guy Podcast, the podcast about a couple of working musicians in the Toronto, Ontario area. My name is Al Rowe. I'm a music guy. I play guitar, I sing, I write songs, I make records. Joining me from all the way from Whitby, Ontario, my friend and yours, my co-host, partner in crime, guitarist, backup vocalist, composer, educator, Mr. Michael Hebbs. What's happening, dude?
You know, just being a deadbeat. Maybe, I woke up at 10 a.m. today and, just lied in bed for like half an hour. It's no good.
Yeah.
This COVID thing's becoming unhealthy for me.
Fair enough. It feels like we're kind of getting over the hump, but it's going to be a slow restart, I think, especially for people of our profession.
The world to decide if it's ending or not, because if it's over, then I can act accordingly. But this half-ass shit,
yeah,
not
right.
feeling it.
Yeah, we're like in between, everything going to hell and everything going back to normal.
When are we gonna start eating people?
Anytime you want, man. You could be the trendsetter, Yeah. We're pleased to welcome to the show a friend of ours from gigs past, and he's a singer-songwriter for the band The Crease Rule. He's a singer, guitarist, leads the band Lindsay Broham, which is a wedding band, and among other bands, and is a side musician in his own right. We're pleased to welcome, all the way from pretty far up north, Ontario, Mr. Kyle Hohmann. What's up, dude? Welcome.
Yo. Thank you. Hey, guys. What's up?
How's the weather up there, man?
Pretty humid. What about you guys? How's it going? Is it really humid down there like it is here?
I haven't been outside yet today.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Right.
It's air conditioning is the weather.
It's a little sticky.
Yeah, AC's on.
We got the AC on, so it's okay. So you live on a horse farm now?
Yeah. We have 4 horses that 2 of them jump and race and 2 of them just eat and stand.
Yeah.
It's a huge transition from me a year and a half ago.
And so that's like a full-time job in itself, right? Caring for horses?
Yeah. It's a whole thing. My partner Shannon is like around the clock with it, and she works full time. So it's safe to say that like if you want to spend time with her, you go to the farm with her. So you gotta get out to the barn with her.
Yeah. That's
it's great.
That's a cool lifestyle. I'm sure like it affords you like that property is probably pretty big. Like you probably got a sweet recording setup and stuff going on up there as well.
Yeah, that was like the biggest thing moving up here. It took me, I felt like maybe 5 years ago, kind of like rumbling inside of me. I was like, something's got to change. Like I got to go. I've been not stuck in Toronto, but I was like immersed in it so heavily for years and years and years, to the point where I didn't realize like it just became such a big part of my everyday that I thought like this is what I'll always be doing. And when I met Shannon, I found out she was from Muskoka, so I got to do all the visiting and the holidays and stuff. And I realized I'm like, man, I love it up here.
Oh man.
So yeah,
there's a lot of
I moved Muskoka as well.
Yeah, it's real nice. The drive sucks, but but I've found a way to make it work. I still got my place in the city, and that's like strictly like a business spot, and I can sleep there and whatnot if things are getting a little day to day. But for the most part, I can record tunes up here. I write a bunch of songs and just hang out, listen to the crickets, and nobody bothers me. It's amazing.
There's pretty good like music opportunities up there too, in terms of playing live. Like I've done a handful of gigs at like different resorts up there, and like there's work to be had if you're especially if you're living up there. It'd be pretty sweet.
Oh, totally. And I find that like that's one of the coolest things is I kind of settled in, kept it super chill for a while, didn't really branch out or anything, but yeah, there's just a ton of really cool like wedding planners for one thing. It's just been incredible. Like they're like, oh, like can you head out to Port Carling and play on top of a 4-bay boathouse for 4 hours, and you're out there and you're like, holy crap, everyone's dressed in white silk, and you're like, I didn't know this existed. You wouldn't think on the line of trees that this stuff was a thing. But yeah, the resorts are nice. The there's Deerhurst, there's great breweries, there's, man, it's a gem.
It's beautiful up
So
there.
what you're saying is you played for a cult.
Basically, I did a cult show, and we played no cult songs. It was strictly it's that new the cults, they're all new country fans, so
That's fine. I'm cool with that. I mean, cults got lots of money. Sometimes.
absolutely. Sometimes,
Oh.
yeah, if they want you to play longer, yeah, they show you how much cash they have.
There
I
you
carry
go.
cash.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
That's great.
I'm getting paid in cash right now.
There you go, buddy.
So let's jump right into a tune off of the new record. So the Crease Rule, you guys put out a record, an EP, I guess I should say. How many months ago? Pretty recently, right?
Yeah, so we did that in June 17th, July 19th, June 19th. I think June 19th. Anyways, it came out in June, and it was our second one. So we released one right at the beginning of the year, right before COVID, called Three-Way Stop. And then this one, it was one of those ones where, we could have released it in March. I could have waited till September. I had a plan to let's get some shows going and then release a second EP, and then COVID hit. So I was like, I am tired of not having these out. So I released it.
Right on. All right. So yeah, the record sounds amazing. This is a track called Brotherhood, and we're going to hear a bit of it now. And hopefully if the audio works the way I think it does, you guys will also be able to hear it as I hit play.
Fingers crossed.
So this is a song called Brotherhood by the Crease Rule. Right on. That was the Crease Roll with their song Brotherhood. Man, were those like some sort of harmonics at the very end there over top of those guitar chords?
Yeah, it was like the big heavy shots with the bing bing. Yeah,
Did you?
That was actually Brent Farber's idea to do the harp. He's a big harmonics guy, and he's like, "Why are there not harmonics on this?" So we threw it on there.
I've never noticed that in music before, but that's such a cool texture to add. Yeah. Did you have to retune the guitar to get them right for each chord, or did it just work?
I honestly think we're just in half step there, and I think it was just 7th fret and 5th fret or 7th. No, it was like two. I think it was like the 3 highest strings on the 7th fret, and then rip over to the 5 and do the A and D string. It was crazy, and I was like, "Oh, that works unbelievably perfect right now." So we threw it in there.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
I mean, man, like that is that's the kind of music that like I was listening to in high school and like early college. Yeah. I mean, like, not that I don't listen to it now, but like that's the kind of stuff that I came up listening to when I was trying to start bands and like trying to make it, as a young guy. And it's just like to hear that stuff now, and that people are still wanting to make that and wanting to listen to it. It's like, yeah, this is sick. Like, I would love to be involved with a project that sounded like that. Yeah. You know what I mean? And to get that sound right it's hard. So hard, man.
Yeah. You can really butcher it. And I think that, like, I come from like a pretty serious like metal background, and I love like shred, and I love classic rock, and I like smoking weed and playing Jimi Hendrix, and that was kind of like my background, but I really got into punk rock like in grade 8, 9, and there was a lot of like NoFX and Rancid and stuff like that. So when like all these years passed, you realize like as a jobber or a guitar player for someone and whatnot, like you're playing other people's songs, and you're not gonna be a side guy in a punk band, even though you really want to. It'd probably be number 1 on my list. But like you spend years thinking like that's not gonna make me any money, and I need to pay the bills right now. And if I don't pay the bills, then I don't want to be transactional about music. I'm gonna wait till I'm a little older and I just keep writing year after year, just writing songs and writing songs and writing songs and playing in bands here and there that never went anywhere because we were a little younger and we didn't know how to make it work. And I think at age 30, I was just like, I'm exhausted, and I love what I do, and it brings home the bacon. Doing weddings and playing for people and stuff, that's fine. But I was like, I just don't feel complete. You've heard over the last few years, like, I'll show you like a metal song, and I'm like, I just never felt like you're like, oh, that's pretty good, man. Like, we should like do some more of those. And I was like, yeah, like I'm thinking about it. Let's do it. And I never just committed to like going into it and like immersing yourself, spending the money on post-production, all the other stuff that you do past the demo. And I think what happened was I never felt confident like as a singer over the years. I was always singing in my like quiet voice, doing harms. And if I was trying to sing melodies or doing covers or anything like that, I just have one of those voices where I feel like I really have to project in order to hit the notes. Mm. So then I finally just had a eureka moment. And then that was demoing the first like 3 to 5 songs for the Crease Roll. I was just letting loose. I didn't care. I was like, I don't care what the sound like. Sounds like I'm going to release punk rock. And then that kind of spiraled into a few people going like, hey man, I think it's working. Like, I think it sounds good. Like the songs are pretty good. And then a couple guys get together with you and they're like, what else do you got? And then we go into the folder and it's like, oh crap. Like now, like a year later, I'm like, it's probably like my favorite thing ever. It just makes me feel happy and sharing honest stories. And it's just one of those things, man. Like it's more of a fulfillment project more than anything. We're all a bunch of dads. We're not going to hit the road in a van and break our backs, on that stuff like we did in our 20s.
On the punk rock scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck that, man.
A lot of traffic for Brian, the drummer, in those songs too, eh? He's working real hard. He, the first time we ever went into the studio, he was just like, all right. Like, I'm ready. Like I was running. I'm like, why do you like, dude, you're like one of the best drummers I've ever met. Like, why are you nervous right now? He's like, who MIDI'd these? Why did you MIDI them? I would have MIDI'd them the same way. And I was like, oh shit, like we're going to get into it. Like it became one of those sessions where like, I was like he found a way to make it all work. And
sometimes, you know, I think Brian's one of those, he's so smart at like adjusting MIDI parts that wouldn't be real. He's like, dude, that wouldn't be real. We're going to do this instead. And then I'm like, oh yeah, there you are. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, he's busy. I think that's why Brian wants to play in the crease roll. I think he's just like, this is super busy, and he likes sweating and playing fills.
Yeah,
and
it's challenging.
He's a metal guy too, isn't he? He has a metal background or something.
I don't know too much about him, to be honest. I know he has a twin brother.
He does.
That's about it.
He was also a good musician.
Yeah, so we're talking about Brian Chierkos, and yeah, he is. He does have a metal background. He plays for Nick Johnston, who's like an instrumental metal sort of slash blues kind of fusion group. Yeah, and he's been on tour with those guys. So that's it. I didn't even realize that it was Brian that played drums on those records. That's amazing.
Oh,
yeah, it sounds great.
The guy the way it kind of panned out is I had a good friend, Johnny Weeb. He's from out west. He played in a band called The Latency back in the day.
Yeah,
and he also drummed for the Heels. Long story short, Johnny's a really hardworking guy in the tech industry. Like, he works for some really cool Toronto companies. He's like, hey man, like, I'll get together and hash these out for you, but like, I don't know how much I can do for you past that. And I was like, thanks, man. So we got together, he played one show with us, and it was just one of those things where he was like, I got to go back to work. Like, I can't be your guy for rehearsals and stuff. And then at the time, I shipped a few demos over to Brent Farva, and he was like, he's a huge punk rock guy. Like, he was like, dude, this is great. Like, let's do some stuff together. And then in that whole transition, he was like, man, like, I showed Brian some of these songs, and Brian was like super into playing them. And I was like, Brian? I'm like, oh, the guy who plays for Nick, the guy who toured with Between the Buried and Me, like one of my favorite bands of all time. Like, okay. And then he came out to rehearsal, and it was just like, oh, like, wow. I felt so cool. You know what I mean? Like, when you hear the songs, like, oh my God, like,
this is so much better than a MIDI drummer.
Hearing it coming to life.
Oh,
right? Yeah.
Oh, so what a feeling, boys. What a feeling.
Can you talk about that song that we just heard, and like, what is it about? What's the meaning behind it?
That song is called Brotherhood. I wrote it. Actually, I wrote it with my little brother. He was there. We had just finished playing a game of shinny, and we were just out there shooting around before like the game got going. I'm just like, man, the amount of years I've been here, and I was just like looking off at the CN Tower, and we were having some cans of beer, and I just realized like there's such a repetitive process through the seasons when you live in like an urban environment just to kind of cope, and being on the ice with like your favorite, most loved people, that just, you know, getting in a bar fight or getting into a fight on the ice with your best bud. And then by the end of it, you're all good again. You're just kind of stressing and fuming and letting the gas off. And that's what the song is literally all about, just growing up in Canada in terrible winter conditions on the ice and kind of like enjoying your Friday night for what it's worth instead of, you know, sitting at home. And and there's lots of drinking involved, and there's lots of nights where you're like, wow, I really shouldn't have gotten drunk and talked to that girl, because we're not getting married. It just didn't work out, and you have the regrets and all those things, and you count on your bros to kind of get you through it. And when you're, it's just one of those things. Yeah.
Right on, man. Yeah. Classic
Canadian boy.
So, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So let's get into, I mean, maybe the recording process. I mean, we already kind of touched on it a little bit, but like, so the thing that stands out to me, above anything, I mean, your vocals sound great, and I want to get into that, actually. I have a lot of questions. The drums sound awesome, but like the guitar tones are really what stood out to me as just like this is unreal. Like, so can we start there? Is that cool? Like, how did you guys get those tones? And I guess maybe we should start with like, who's playing on the record? Is it all you and then Brian's playing drums, or who's playing?
Brian's playing drums. Brian's playing drums. I'm playing guitar. Most recently, Michael Shanger, he played in a band, Breaching Vista, from Cambridge. He did the bass on the Brotherhood EP. Mm-hmm. And like, it was one of those things where like, he was like, what do you want? And we dialed it in pretty good. And then when we do guitars, it's pretty funny. Like God bless technology, right? Like I could spend thousands of dollars of my money and get into an amazing space and set up my pedal board and my amps and what I want. But thank God for Kempers, I was able to really kind of emulate the guitars that I want, which is really cool. So Brent and I got together, opened a few beverages, and spent like hours in this past January, or last December, I'd say. And we just went through a whole bunch of profiles that kind of like encompassed the way I would set shit up when I was playing, like the way I was like demoing the songs and stuff. I used my board to demo, and I run like a Diamond compressor, RC booster, BB preamp, and that was kind of the core like line drive for the guitars. And then we found a super sweet matchless profile, and like I'm a huge fan of those amps. I don't know if you ever played through a matchless, but like
played through it a
holy
few
crap
times, but yeah, I would love to have.
You can really break them. They're expensive. Like you can really break them open. I just run an AC15 live. So on the first EP, we did a matchless and an AC15 cab with an angle, with like an angle head. So an angle head on a some sort of AC15 speaker, like I guess a British style. Does that make sense that I'm saying that? Yeah. Okay. And then we ran a matchless. So I ran all the Telecasters through the matchless, and then I ran the Les Paul through the angle. So we got this. It's kind of like you're listening to like a pretty decent like rock distortion, like, but underneath is like this heavier kind of like more shimmery metal in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
And we just spent hours going back and forth and back and forth. So that's how we did Three-Way Stop. Fast forward to Brotherhood, we used a full out angle profile with a matchless, and then we switched. So I put all the Les Pauls through the matchless and did leads with them. And then Brent, like, honestly, man, like Brent and I have so much fun doing guitars, man, because we're distortion buffs. Like we're like, we reference. Yeah, man. So I think I referenced as best I could, Weezer's Blue Album, 4 Year Strong,
reference.
Out Come the Wolves, by Rancid, Jim Eat World Futures.
Oh, that's a good one.
So I really tried my best to get it like thick and together without too much like, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then at that point, it was just a case of how clean it was. I really appreciate recording these types of guitars with the Kemper, because the louder you get in a space, it's hard to record with amps with my budget, with the crease roll budget.
Dude, yeah. I do digital all the time now. I rolled into Metalworks for a session with an HX Stomp. I was like, this is what I'm using.
Oh my, yeah.
And it's like,
and they're great. They're fucking great.
Yeah, so. Man. And I mean, honestly, at this point, the only people that are going to give you guff about it are just like purists with like a negative attitude. I think, you know,
yeah.
Like any good engineer.
That was my hardest point. Is like not being a purist. I had to get over that. I had to just get over it. And I wasn't mad when I heard the end product, but I love using my amp on stage. I love the way it breaks out. I'm not like, I don't know. The first time I heard a Kemper was Dave Kirby brought it to rehearsal one day, and he's like, "Oh, this is my Kemper," and he played it, and I was like, "Wow, that's like so incredible. It's better than any digital emulator I've ever heard." But I'm just like one of those guys who likes to I'm not as clean. I like to just play loud and make noise. But in the studio, holy crap, you have control over it. You have control over the way it lays down in the wave and processing it. And I'm on the fence about getting one. I haven't done that yet. I run my UA with like UA plugins when I demo. So I use the Marshall and the Angle there. And I don't know, man, like it's such a great world to be in and understand, because you're right. Like, especially with you, when we discuss like showing up to a festival and giving someone a USB stick.
Yeah.
And there you go. There's your tone.
Well, and that's just how it's going to be eventually, I would think.
Yes.
Totally.
But because why not? It's at the end of the day, it's going to be, it'll end up being easier for the techs, right? For everybody involved in producing the show. if they want to roll amps back and forward and break their backs and like have tubes blow and pilot lights not be working and people be like, is this thing even on? And like, that's cool. There's a vibe to that. And like that's going to be a thing too, but I think they'll just be those production companies just like, yep, just bring a USB stick. We've got everything already rigged up, plug it in. We're good to go. Yep. And then changeovers will be so quick, right?
Yeah.
The only thing I don't like, dude, is not having my amp behind me. For that stage sound, that where I get a little.
Oh yeah, to feel it on you. Yep.
Yeah. I miss
also
that.
too, like the fear is if it doesn't work, like if say you don't have your monitor, like if your monitor isn't set or like your in-ears aren't set, then you are fucked. But like, yeah, the only reason I would want it as well too is just you're used to feeling the air when you're playing. Yeah. But like, I mean, I'm all in on the digital tone. I was listening to a local guy named Aiden Jacobs. I was just checking out his YouTube channel because he's sick. And he was doing a John Mayer cover. And I'm like, wow, he must have like 2-rock amp. And no, it was just like a Helix patch. And I was like,
really?
All in on this, yeah.
Oh, the Helix, man.
I mean, sick. Helix, Kemper, whatever,
There's so many great options now.
Yeah, you got it. When you know how to use it, and I'm sure like you and Brent, especially because you and Brent spent the time on it. A lot of people are like, I'll just fucking, sure, this is close enough.
Click the next button. Click the next button. And you know what I mean? And we, now I realize that if the Crease Rule, our like touring strategy or our playing strategy is going to be like that of a dad that can't be away from home too long. So if we do get in on great shows and festivals, we're going absolutely all in with wireless and in-ears, and we're going to run around on stage and make it it's more about the production of what we're doing than it is like how amazing my guitar tone is. So Brent has a Kemper, Chang has a Kemper, and then Dakota, he's our third guitarist. He runs a Fender Twin. So we haven't like Dakota's tone is so good. It's such a good contrast from my Vox and Brent's Kemper patch when we rehearse. But we're getting to the point where like we're probably gonna run a Kemper. I'll get one and run it for Dakota, and then I run that little. Have you seen those new Vox heads, the little MV50s?
Yes. They're like yeah. Are they good?
You can. They're so sick, man. I used it the other day or last show. I just popped it down on an orange cab like a 412, and I'm like, holy crap! So quick, it just sits in my gig bag. Yeah. It's it's called NewTube. NewTube technology. I don't know.
Has one of those, and I hooked it up to my cab, and I was like, "What the fuck?
Yeah, this is so fucking cool." It's like it's like the amp,
but it's tiny.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's hard to being a modern. I'm all about being a modern band. I market the band like a modern band. I write modern lyrics, but there's like that whole sense of heavy nostalgia that I try to kind of add into the mix. And I'm definitely not going to be one of those guys who like, just turn it up, man. Whatever, bro. It's punk rock. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It does fucking matter.
It totally does. It's been around for so long now that it's like, sure, like shit's like codified, It's like, this is what it sounds like,
100%.
Yeah.
100%. It's come a long way.
So in terms of drums, did you guys get a studio together? Did you just program everything? What was your strategy for drums?
So over the years, I have been like, as much as I hate MIDI, everyone hates MIDIing drums. Yeah. I just put myself through it. I don't even have preset MIDI patches. Like I just go and I keyboard through every song, no matter what. And because I'm a little weird with variety, I can't I can't have the same groove as the last song I demoed. Yeah. Just for my sake of mind. I'm just that weirdo. So I MIDI drum most of the stuff. And I do it I try to do it properly. I try to adjust the velocities, keep it down. Don't make it all red when you're MIDIing the drums, all the little red blocks. And I MIDI fills, do all that stuff. And as my brain drums very well, I find I am a brain drummer, and then obviously translating it to your hands never works out the way you want. So we were I sat there and like lulled over, like, what's the point of the crease roll? Like, is it just me like putting out a SoundCloud, or is it just me, you know? And I think the most important part of this is, like, we discussed this, Al, a few years ago, is like, share it with your buddies, like get people to talk to you about your music, and get people to like just give you their honest opinion, and don't take it personally. Just share it, because like if you sit on top of your songs for years and never share with anyone because you're too worried about them saying like this is shit, then like you shouldn't be writing songs. You know what I mean? Like you need to. So I did that. I shared it with a whole bunch of people, and I started making like a little tally between each song, like who votes it their favorite. And I asked, out of like 10 songs, give me your top 3. And my demos were pretty terrible, but like they were good enough that like I could slap some EQ and compression and mix it, and just enough so that people got the gist of it. And then I started getting feedback from guys like Brent, or guys that I like, Alan, the guy that mixed the EP. Like he heard it and he's like, this is great, I want to mix it. So they were the guys who were kind of made me think like, do it properly. And you need drums, like you need that feel with this type of music, because especially if we're going to do like Kemper guitars, if anyone starts to dive into how real our guitars is, there's no doubt in my mind that the feel of the drums is so realistic, and that's so important. So we did it at Equilibrium Sound in Kitchener. My long time buddy Josh Snyder, he's got a wicked console. He's got an unreal rig, small space, and that's where we set up Brian. And Brian made it he brought it from here to like out of the display. Yeah. You can't even see my hand. That's how much better he made it. And then the rest, that in terms of the drums, like I think we just both agreed that this will absolutely work. And then Alan he's just so good at mixing drums. Like he's just so good at it. So
it's so hard to do, and it's so hard to get the separation. Like if I can nerd out a little bit about mixing, but like getting the separation between the different elements. It's one thing to get your kick and your snare slamming and up the middle, and like I think there's enough videos on YouTube about how to do that like a lot of people can figure that out, right? But then like getting the hi-hat to feel like it's to one side, getting the crash cymbals to feel like they're one side, and it's not just a huge smeary mess with all the cymbals bleeding into all the other microphones, is a real art, man. Like it's
a victory.
I still struggle with it every time I open up a Pro Tools session. So really, really well done on this record for sure. It's just, you can just hear where everything is, and it just sounds great, man. Yeah.
So like you were talking earlier about like how much room we gave Brian, like how much room the drums have and whatnot. And when actually from a production standpoint, when we did Three Way Stop, we decided to put the matchless on the left, put the friggin' angle on the right, and then give Alan tons of headroom and like space to make the drums awesome. So I found that like that worked out really well. And we didn't want to be, I was like, we can't just sit there and be like, okay, for this verse, let's take 2 guitars, pan them left and right, and we'll just like, I'm going to hold this D octave, and then you can go, and then like, then we'll do double the rhythms, and like, it's just too much. Like it was too much.
Yes.
I didn't want to make that mistake. And then Alan be like, hey man, like, I know this is our first crack at it. It's super loud and busy. I tried to squeeze as much out of it without clipping, blah, 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 blah. And we kept it so stripped down and simple that when it worked out and it was mixed so nice, and Quinn just mastered it like so nice and crunchy, like everything came out so nice, that for the Brotherhood EP, we like spent a little more time, like added a few more guitars that sustained. And Selby, my brother, he's a keyboard wizard. He, in Brotherhood, the song we just listened to, he has a Roland Jupiter, and he put in some unreal key voicings that I was like, oh man, like I would have never thought of doing that. But needless to say, we added more. It was a little more difficult on the second time around to squeeze the mix out the same way as the first, because we did add more, not just left and right guitar.
It was busier,
way busier, and the drums were really pushed on that. And at the end of the day, we did 2 mix revisions for Three Way Stop. I was like, fuck it, like it's great, let's go. And then for Brotherhood, we like went in, we did 5. You know, we were like, we made sure. You know, sometimes you gotta fix that snare, you gotta fix that kick and whatnot. And Alan his ear is, I don't know if you've ever met Alan Podker.
I've not.
He is so jacked And if you go to his Instagram, it's just pictures of him. He's a firefighter, super jacked, holding his little baby. And he's like, his arms are bigger than the baby. And like, he's just smiling like, I'm Alan, like I'm a firefighter and this is my baby.
He's got to be carrying, if he sneezes while he's carrying that baby.
Yeah. And if you did, like, and if you didn't, and I make fun of him all the time for this, but like, if you didn't see him back in the day touring the world and like playing in front of 500,000 people in Indonesia on New Year's with These Kids Were Crowns, like, if you didn't know him then, you would not know that the guy goes downstairs into his house and he's got this great, clean mixing studio. And he has the ear. I've never met a guy with an ear like his. He hears things unlike a lot of guys I know. But he's not out there advertising that he's a mixing engineer. He's a hardcore firefighter. Like he just, the band These Kids Were Crowns ended, and he kind of went off and just decided I can do whatever I want. And I don't know, man. It's like that little secret. Like he's like the secret weapon,
Yeah.
He's so sick, man. But he was the guy who literally was like, hey, why don't you make me a playlist of your favorite songs ever in this genre? So I made this crazy good playlist. I think it's great because, I like good songs.
Naturally.
And, there's 25, 30 songs ranging from the 90s till now of like mixes that I really, really loved. And and he just took it. He just made it like that. And yeah, we get a lot of compliments on how well it sounds. And I'm like very flattered and floored because the last thing I thought that this like dad punk rock band would sound, I thought it was going to be just like, that's great, Kyle. Like, how's
good for
Muskoka?
you? Good hobby.
Yeah. You got buddies. Yeah, exactly. Oh, this is anger. Oh, good thing you're getting your aggression out.
Yeah.
But like we get guys like I don't know, guys that I haven't talked to in a while, like that are out on the road with like doing like production for huge bands. They're like, hey man, like just played your EP like in the green room, and they're like, I didn't like this sounds so good. And they're like guys who do that. They make things sound good in the studio. And I was like, it's flattering. All I do is write the songs.
Yeah.
But I do say if it sucks though, I say this sucks. If it sucks, like I'm not going to be like, oh, let's just I literally like, I have tough conversations. Like I have to like,
especially because you're spending money on it, right? You don't want to take a shitty song and fucking put it through all the
butcher it.
monies.
That's the importance that I found of like bringing other people in and being willing, like believing in your own art enough that you're willing to like spend a little bit of money. It doesn't have to be like 20 grand, but bringing in some people that you trust and spending a few $100 on each guy and being like, hey, let's do this right. And let's like, and bring in the skill sets for you, like people like Alan to bring it home, right? And take it, because you're just saying, oh, I just write the songs. And then, all of a sudden but that's kind of what it takes. Like you can't do everything all by yourself, even if you have the skill set. And this is advice that I fail to follow all the time, but it's like, even if you have the skill set of, I can mix, I can record myself, I can sing, I can program drums, I can play guitar. It's like, until you open it up to some people that you trust and some other skill sets, it's like that's when it goes to that next level. And then you can look at it afterwards and be like, wow, how did we do this? This never would have happened without the contributions of all these people. And then that's a beautiful thing. It doesn't have to be like a selfish thing where it's like, I wanted to do this all by myself. It's like, it actually becomes like a beautiful thing when you bring all these other people in, because then you have that shared experience with all these folks as well, and you can be like, we did this together, and everybody can be proud of what happened, right? So
relieving. It's enriching, and like I think what made that special is like growing up, I was always like just such a hardcore musician, like hardcore. Like I had no money, and music was the only thing I knew, and I developed like a young ego. Like a young ego of like what's good and what isn't, and a young ego of like, this artist sucks, like why would I play for them? And there was a lot of things that had to be corrected in my 20s. Like I realized like I was so wrong about so many things, and my ego, my like negative ego, kept me from working with like doing a band in my early 20s, like just hating myself and how my voice sounds and stuff. And then when it's so beautiful to share your songs and have people want to work with you. And then it opens up this whole, like, it's like the camaraderie, and you feel safe, like almost like a safety net. And I appreciate a good safety net here and there, because not everyone can do stuff on their own. And then it's the ears, like I find guys, like since we released 3-Way Stop, I'll get emails from guys in like Chicago and Denver. They're like, hey, I run a studio here. Why don't you grab the guys to fly out here, and we'll spend 2 weeks and we'll make the album. And I'm like, no, you are really, like, the stuff you've done is really good, man. Like, all respect. But like right now I'm in Canada, and I have like 4 or 5 guys that we're able to affordably do this very well. And when I'm done with it, like when, say, Brent and I are done with our Pro Tools session, we ship it off to Alan, and that's it. Like, he does his thing, and then it comes back, and we listen, and we're like, wow. And then it's in Quinn's hands, and then at one point it's in Josh's hands. He aligns all the stems, and I don't have to sit there in the same room with the same guys for weeks straight. And then you're like, oh, you're getting tired. And you're like, oh, sonically your ears get tired, and you start thinking like, oh, like you start fighting. You can't fight the songs. And I find that fighting mixes and fighting recordings is like, it doesn't matter. Like, if you already wrote the song and you think the song's good, and that's why you're in the studio in the first place, like, don't pull audibles. Like, don't change the direction of the song, and try not to, like, unless the part really sucks, just go and record it, like execute it, like just go. And then that's why I feel so relieved to have the recordings we do, is because it's actually pretty much out of my hands, but I know what's going on, and I feel confident in it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, good work. I mean, it's a great, well said. Yeah. Like, if you believe in the song, don't second guess yourself. Like, get in there and get it done, and be with a team of people who are like-minded in that regard. It's like, we're here to make this work. We're not here to like pick it apart and make things difficult, And
we're all adult, like, we're all seasoned players too. Like, every guy that works with me, and including you guys, like, you guys have been around a few blocks musically, and there's something to be said about like having a team like this in Canada and doing it and marketing it and releasing it and mixing it and mastering it, and not taking $100,000 and going to Nashville or LA I'm like one of the biggest advocates of, like, be careful with your money. Like, you're a musician. So like, if it's not your money and it was like a wedding dowry or inheritance, whatever, like, go ahead, go to Nashville, spend all your money, and let these guys choose for you at whatever rate of quality they want to give you. And then you come back, oh, look at all your songs, like, amazing. Not for guys and girls like us that have been playing long enough that, like, we're not, we can do something that's, I would say, equal to, if not greater,
especially if you spend the time. Like, you have clearly spent the time on this, and you're like mentally invested. It's not like you just like, I wrote the song, okay, you guys fucking make it happen.
Yeah,
make it sound good.
Go.
Yeah.
All right, go.
Yeah, the pieces are no doubt here, and I'm like, if you need to go to the States to do your thing, and that's the way that your project's going to get done, and that's the way that it's going to work best for you, then awesome. Yeah. Go down. There's a lot of great, unbelievably talented people down there.
It's crazy how good people are down there. Like,
I've been fortunate
they're amazing.
Yeah, I've been fortunate to get to go down there and work with people, and it's just like, yeah, this is insanely cool. But the pieces are here as well. So I think you're right to say that your only option is not spend all the money and go down and work with the A-list.
That's what I
meant.
That's more what I meant.
Yeah.
I didn't mean like go to Nashville and shit. Like, I have friends down there who, like, I could never play music with in a room because they're so good.
Yeah.
And we all do. I just think that, especially if you are a brand new artist and you're like, okay, how do I become a star? And like, someone just like, go to Nashville and like take this, you know what I mean? I just find that happens a lot with Canadian artists. And I feel like next thing you know, they've spent almost $1 million of someone's money with songs that maybe they get down there and the person's like, okay, so we were thinking this would be a good song for you. Even though they're working with 5 other artists, and they're like, okay, this would be work for you. Here's today's studio day. And they come back like, this is a song that was written I wrote it with these people, and I just think you need to be really careful with your money, because one day it might not be there. And
there's definitely there's
value.
Definitely can be like a negative kind of machine like process down there where they're just like, well, this and it's like, yeah, we'll grab this artist, they'll be into this song and they'll be down to spend this money and record it, and it's like, do we necessarily believe that this is gonna go anywhere? Maybe not. You know what I mean? There's definitely that element, and it would behoove people to be wary of that. And I would add to, like, define your expectations as best you can too for your project, right? Like, if this is the first record you've made, if this is your first kick at the can, like, then it should not have the budget of, you know, a top A-list, like somebody's 20th kick at the can where they have a huge following and there's expectations of radio play and all that stuff. And I think that...
And they know what they're doing.
Yeah. And I think that people get ahead of themselves real quick. They're like, oh, well, if, you know, my song's not going to get on radio unless I go and spend all this money on it. And it's like, yeah, but your song's still not
Or unless this guy's name is on it. Like, unless this guy's name is on it.
He's going to show it to his buddies.
Yeah, and his buddies are going to, are going to put this thing, and then, like, this person's going to go to this party, and then they're going to, like, maybe get me on that management label, and then next thing you know, like, I have play in the States and in Canada. And I'm just like, why don't we start with, like, do you want to come over to my house? We'll demo some songs, show some people, like, right next door in this Canadian industry or whatever. Like, if you live in Nashville and you've lived there your whole life, walk down the street, have a drink with this guy, but don't break yourself with the allure. The allure is what's scary. It's like, it's scary. And there's a lot of people who are very good artists and write their own songs who don't have any money and can't do that. And I just think, like, we need to believe in our Canadian industry. It's just punk rock, what I'm putting together. It's just fucking rock and roll that's maybe a little louder and faster than what's on the radio. I'm not saying that if I was to go and do the same thing with country, that it would work. I'm not saying that. I would probably be like, hey, you know, who do I know that's been to Nashville and back? That's back and forth. That might, you know, I would still tap into all those resources. I just think
that's the same workflow though. Like would work. You know what I mean? I feel like in any industry, like if you're doing like rap, it's like, oh yeah, I got to get fucking Drake's beat maker to make me a beat. It's like, well, there's tons of people. Yeah. Like, it's like, there's tons of people in Toronto that make, you know, beats that are really good. And, you know, maybe there's someone who's like on their way up. I mean, the thing that resonated with me is just that idea, like, when people are like, oh yeah, I'm just going to spend a bunch of money on this and that's what's going to make it great. It's like, you don't think that everybody hasn't thought that at the beginning? Like, literally every artist I've ever seen has been like, well, you know, if you just spend a bunch of money on this, then it's going to be great. And if I work with this guy, it's going to be great. And it's like, no, like it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
You know, I've had those unfortunate experiences, and I'm not here to complain about it because I'm very fortunate to be a musician, a working musician, but I've had those times where I've had to give feedback to an artist where they want to chop how much they spend on a band with no rehearsals, no production, but they had this guy in Nashville say, these are your 4 songs. Come on down. One day we'll sing all your vocals. Everything's already recorded. Now give me $60,000 US. And then you come back to Canada like, oh, I have no money, man. I have no money. Like, why don't we just like do it acoustic? Or why don't we get like my bar band that I play covers with sometimes? They'll come play instead of these really good players. Or and I just find that like you just wish you could like bring that person right back down because someone at some point told them you're going to be a star, bud, and you're not. Like it's not just going to happen. And the songs are okay, but like, let's work on like how you are. How do you connect with people when you sing? Like, how do you perform? And you could have like a ton of. A good example of this is like Chris Barkley, because Chris Barkley didn't have a bunch of songs out. He was the absolute king of country covers. But when you see Chris Barkley play live, people get so stoked. He didn't even. He went and you know what? He did it all in due time and process and didn't rush anything. And I love where he's going now. It's that type of just take your time and be patient. And I didn't mean to make this about
skip any rungs.
Country, but stop skipping the rungs and just like guys, take your time and enjoy it. Like be a player, be a musician, be an artist. Don't be a star, be an artist. Just try to create and Yeah, enjoy it, man. Like, enjoy it. What do you want out of this aside from enjoying it? Do you want people to like worship you? Like, do you want people to be like, you're a, I don't know. It's a tough
try to call
fine line.
If you want worship.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
easy peasy.
You should just start. I've said that. You should just start a cult if this is what you want.
If this is what you want, I mean, you can pivot Crease Rule to a cult pretty easily.
It kind of sounds a little culty, the name.
This is the Crease Rule. Hoo-ha. The Crease. Hoo-ha. You know, Bruno, we were talking earlier about the Crease Rule. Like, you don't know what that is?
I don't know what that is because I don't watch sports. It's the worst.
So, back in 1999, Brett Hull scored the cup-winning goal on Dominic Hasek of the Buffalo Sabres with his foot in the crease. So they were Game 7 overtime, and Brett Hull scored this goal, and they were in Buffalo, so it was just like it was total outrage because there was a rule where if your foot's in the crease before the puck, the goal should be called back. So since 1999, the city of Buffalo has been just a big old group of jaded hockey fans, angry at the NHL, angry about everything. And I just think it's such a funny thing because the Crease Rule, like when you say the Crease Rule, you're like, oh, it's like a metaphor or an understanding of something. And then it's actually a literal rule that was in hockey back in the day. And that's kind of how I named the band. But yeah, to this day, the city of Buffalo is still so rattled about the Crease Rule. They got rid of it the next year.
Oh, it's not a thing anymore.
Really?
But now there's a lot more like goalie interference kind of stuff. So if you're
the trap is right behind the net.
Yeah. Right.
It is cool that the band is like it's you can tell it's Canadian, because I find that in a lot of music there's not like a Canadian sound or Canadian lyrics. Like I'm trying to think of bands that have that, like the Tragically Hip have Canadian sounding stuff, but it's like it's cool that you can tell you're Canadian.
Like Arkells. Yeah,
Arkells. Yeah.
Or like the Dirty No, like they write stuff that seems very, very Canadian. I was kind of on the fence at first because I was worried about being put into this little box of all those like Warped Tour bands that have hockey teams as their logos and stuff. And I eventually said, fuck it. Like I am such a big hockey fan. Like I've been watching hockey my whole life and I play music. I've been doing the best of both Canadian worlds, two defining characteristics. So I'm like, I'm going to call it the Crease Rule. I'm going to be one of those. At first people might be like, oh, they're like puck rock or skate hockey punk, whatever.
Skate hockey punk.
I don't care. Yeah, but I'm like, okay, that's why I actually with Brotherhood, like I put like the rink on the front to get it out of my system. I wrote a song called Brotherhood about playing on the rink, get it out of my system because there's so much more to come in the future. I'm just going to keep recording with this band until I can't anymore, until my fingers have arthritis, because it's not something that I feel the pressure to succeed with. It's just going to be continual sharing of as honest as I can be stories. Loud, honest. That's it, man. Like, but yeah, the hockey stuff will eventually, like, I think I got it out of my system now. It's
it's going away. I like it though.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of fun, eh? But like, I'm still going to be Canadian, but there's going to be less of that, like.
You won't feel as desperate to get your Canadian out in creativity.
If you don't like hockey, you won't like the Crease Rule. Like, I don't want it to become one of those things.
Yeah.
Most of the songs aren't about hockey, but
I think it's like a nice flavor to have in there. Like, I don't think it's not really hitting me over the head when I'm listening to the music, but you can tell that it's, you catch the odd lyric or whatever, and you're like, all right, these guys are Canadian boys. That's okay though,
I like
it's okay to be yourself. I think that's what that's what takes us 30 or 40 years of being alive to realize. For some of us, it's like it's okay to be yourself. It's okay to put music out that's like, this is who I am, this is what I like. I think a lot of people attack the music industry from an angle. Everybody's got an angle. They're like, this is going to work if I do this because I saw this person do it and it worked for them, and I think I can probably do it too, And
it's super Machiavellian in that sense. Where
it's everybody wants to attack it from an angle, and so infrequently does that work because,
it's like a scheme. Like everyone's like sitting there like in their dungeon, like throwing things. in a cauldron. And then what I'll do is I'll do it at 1:59 a.m. on the Tuesday instead of like the Friday when that other artist did it, or like, release it. Like, it's just this whole thing.
And like, that's going to make me famous.
And it's going to go viral.
And if you look at a lot of artists that are really doing it, it's like, it feels authentic to me, right? Like when I hear the Arkells come out with a new song, and like, for my money, they're one of the biggest bands in Canada going right now. Like, I don't know.
Amazing
I don't read the charts. I don't read the Forbes. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know any of that stuff, but they feel like Canada to me, and they feel like a massive thing. Like when they put out a new song, that's everybody's paying attention, and feels authentic to me every time. So I believe it. I'm not listening.
Well, they're Canadian. Yeah, they're a Canadian band. I've been working on a documentary with their film crew, where like I've got to see firsthand how Canadian these guys are. They are community fighters. Like, they're from Hamilton. They fight for what is just right and from the heart. And like, it's amazing to hear the music, because when the music comes out, there's like a lyrical content to it that takes you on like from start to finish storyline. And I think I appreciate all songwriting that has a little bit of that literal sense. It's good to write in metaphor. It's good to write to give people the sense of like, my tap in my kitchen sink, that's the money coming out of my pocket. It's a metaphor or whatever, right? Like, but writing literally sometimes with a little bit of attitude and a little bit of like realism, and the content being like Canadian, or being like, this is what we all go through, and people are like, oh man, oh, me too, bro. That just sums up my Friday night in 2002, like, to a T, when I broke up with this person, and that's where I find it special.
This song is clearly about this instead of interpretation.
Well, there's always
and there's.
Sorry, go ahead. Oh,
you're up, Al.
There's always Skype call podcast.
There's so much of that.
There's always in a writing session, not always, but often in a writing session, it's like, okay, we've got this concept, and we kind of know what this song feels like it's about and stuff, and it's just like, we just need something to ground it. We need to talk about an actual thing. We're talking about a lot of feelings right now. We're talking about a lot of like whatever, and it's just like, can you talk about the chair that's in the room, or can you talk about like, we need an object. We need something to ground.
Why is this so abstract? Why are these feelings so abstract? And why can't we rein it in to let like the average human, and that's no offense to anyone, like, we are all average humans, but just to get like any guy who's just listening to be like, like, give him a visual. Just give him the visual. Like, there is no visual on your heart. There is no visual. You just know how it feels, right? So
and like like, what's it, like Bob Cajun by the Tragically Hip, like, that's a pretty good example.
Hell yeah.
There's a lot
of Fiddler's Green.
There's a lot of like direct references to, here's like a thing in Toronto or whatever, and like, people connect to that, right? The overall storyline of the song is not harmed by that. In fact, it's enhanced because people can actually relate to something in the song directly.
I feel like a lot of artists want to. Oh, you go ahead. You go ahead.
No, Bruno, you're up.
I'm
Bruno.
up. I'm up. It's my turn. I feel like a lot of people are trying to pull like a Shania Twain or like a Justin Bieber, where you can kind of just be like I don't even think of Justin Bieber as like Canadian, or like Shania Twain as Canadian. It's like ambiguous. They would never mention their Canadianness.
Oh, Bieber does on his more recent stuff.
Yeah, Justin Bieber does. Yeah. Thank God.
Yeah, he does.
JB.
Thank God that he did that. I for years no one would know. He was just so huge. Stardom was so serious that like you didn't talk about Stratford or whatever.
Yeah.
And I went through that in January when we I wrote this road rage song about Bowmanville. Like, I grew up in Bowmanville, and I wrote the song called Three-Way Stop, and it's literally right around the corner from my house, and it's a three-way stop that's super dangerous that people get in car accidents at all the time. So for years, if you know, like, if you're from Bowmanville and you're like part of the musician group that walk through the creek with backpacks full of beer, you're going to see an accident at this three-way stop in Bowmanville. That's just the way it goes. So I wrote the song like just one day out of frustration because I was trying to like get the sound. I'm like, what does punk rock sound like to me if I was to do it, like my favorite band? So I just wrote Three-Way Stop, no big deal, didn't think about it. And then we recorded it, released it as the first song, just for whatever fucking reason. And it is such a literal song about dealing with this three-way stop. But I like people made it, like people immediately listened to it, and like next thing you know, like 680 News and like Global National were like calling me for interviews, and like I like kind of handed the interviews off. Everyone in the band got their own interview, like to talk about the three-way stop, and they're like, "Do you think it's dangerous? Like, do you think there's a problem with the Bowmanville Council, and like, what are they doing about it? Should we put a roundabout in?" And everyone took it so literally because it's like such a literal song that I started to get kind of like. I started to be like, it's just a road rage song. It was about me being pissed off that I have to go through it to get to work or to get to my girlfriend. And I remember being young and angry. That was what I was going with. And it turned into this like huge literal brigade of, It was crazy, man. And I was like, I did not want the song to become this, but it did. Like, I'm stoked for the Spotify spins, and I'm stoked for people buying it and watching the video. But at the end of the day, like, how do you combine the thing that, Al, like you said, the thing that grounds you, the visual concept or like the literal thing, and then the feelings, and put the feelings all over this literal thing, take them on that journey. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I don't know. Yeah. That's my story about Three-Way Stop.
Well, it's funny how like a song can become something that you didn't expect too, right? Mm-hmm. Like it takes songs become, and this is a conversation that you and I had actually a couple of years ago when you were sort of chatting about wanting to get this project going. And you alluded to this earlier, actually. You were saying, you just got your songs in your head and maybe you're making demos, you're not showing them to anybody. And what I feel is once you start sharing the music, that's when it becomes real, right? That's when like people, if you're playing it with a band, or if you shared it with a few people, or if you've released it on Spotify or what have you, it's like, okay, now these songs are real. Now I have this song called Brotherhood. People know how it goes. People, it's a real thing because people are talking about it. And then what can happen, which is freaky, is like it can go to a place that you didn't foresee before that, right? It can be, it's now its own thing. It's like, you created this child or whatever, and you're just putting it out into the world, and now it's going to do stuff.
It has a mind of its own. Like, it does what it wants.
It's going to do stuff that you didn't expect. People are going to react to it in ways that you didn't expect. It's going to affect your career in ways that you didn't expect. Like, how many artists have you heard of that put a song out, or like the song barely made the record, and they were like, yeah, we don't even think this is good, and then it becomes a number one. That story is
all the time,
all over the place.
Always.
And so these songs are more than just what you think they are or what you created once you share them with other people, right? And so that's a great example of, it's like all of a sudden it turned into this huge, like, shitstorm for the council in Bowmanville.
Overthrowing the Bowmanville Council.
Right? Oh, I gave my opinion on one thing. I was like, you should have put a roundabout in years ago, and I don't care what anyone says. Like, I've seen so many car accidents here, and everyone knows that, right? And then this guy from city council like called my parents' house. He's like, "Does Kyle live here?" And I want to discuss this whole roundabout business that he was talking about on.
It's stirring up trouble.
Yeah, my mom's like, "No, he's in Toronto. Like, he doesn't live here." And he's like, "What? He's not even from? No, he lived here his whole life. It's not a lie. Like, all that stuff's real." And it's became a thing.
That's amazing.
What do you like? I also found that like I had this like heavy, serious exposure to good songwriters over my career as like a jobber, and like I got to work with such a plethora of like studio guys and like performers and like backed up guys who I respected. Like, holy crap, dude! Like, you wrote the song, and I think that took me to this level of like I always wanted that. Like, I always want to write. So I always wanted to write good songs. I always wanted to write good songs. And the saddest part is like I just got blinded by how big country and pop was, and I always thought that like the best songs are going to be country songs, or the best songs are going to be pop songs. I couldn't get that out of my head. I thought that I'm never going to be able to share my stories, and they're not going to be good, because when I grab my acoustic and try to be part of country or be like a synth pop guy, like it just never fucking works. I sound terrible. Yeah. I have to write for someone else maybe, or maybe I'll like do this, and this. It took me taking like punk rock songs and then making it like punk rock. Some guys are like, oh, that riff, sick. Or like, oh, that oh, that's my favorite part. And I'm like, there's those guys, and then you can cater to them and feed that love of like the riff. And then there's the people who are like, man, that was like a really well written song. And I was like, what's your favorite part? And they're like, well, I don't really remember too much of the riffs. I just remember that like hook. And then I think to myself, oh my God, like maybe it can be done. Like maybe you can write really good songs, and people who don't listen to punk rock might be interested in it. Like, I don't know. It's not about that for me. I just want to share the songs, but to be able to bridge these two me's, like this resentful, I can't write songs because I'm not a country guy, and then me loving riffs, and then putting a roof over my head musically. Not financially, just like
I was going to say, I'm like, all right.
Oh, so that's how you like have a house in Muskogee. No. It's pretty funny.
You pay for it with punk rock?
Yeah, punk rock pays. You know what though? I will say, I didn't expect this, but monthly since January, I've been able to just enough. We've got just enough in streaming to go back into like a drum day and a mastering.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
Just 7 months, 7 songs, just enough to like cover my like modest budget. And I think that's what matters, is just that we can keep doing it. I don't care if it makes 10 cents. I just want someone in the world to kind of level with me and be like, man, I think I went through that too. And that makes you feel like you're not alone. And I think that's what it is to create music, guys. Is just like not to let people feel like you're not alone there, bud. Like, I got you. That's it.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah. Thanks.
Very well said.
I haven't talked to anyone in a while. I'm up here in the woods. I work with a few carpenters, and we build custom cottages, and there's only like 2 or 3 of us on site. There's some quiet moments, right? And they're not big music guys either, so we listen to like Rock 95 and Barry, and we listen to like it's like Smoke on the Water all day. So it's like there's not a lot of you can't really nerd out with them. Love them, but you can't.
Fair enough. Yeah. Can we talk about the vocals a little bit? We danced around it a bit. Like, I think your voice sounds great, and listening, especially for this, like, I mean, you could tell that this genre is you, which is so awesome, right? To hear somebody just coming out with a record and you're like, yeah, man, this is what they're supposed to be doing. So, like, can we just nerd out vocally a little bit, like training lessons, like technique? Did you study a lot about singing, or are you just like, I just want to sound like these bands, and I started, because when I started singing, I was just like, I just want to sing and I want to sound like this guy, and I just started yelling into a mic, and then eventually I went to college and like had people try to take all that away from me and teach me proper technique, which was good, but then I had to like rediscover, what got me started, and so there was this whole journey. Like, did you go through any of that, or?
Yeah, I did. My mom's an organist, so she directs the choir at church. And when I was young, I'd go hang while she does choir practice, I'd go hang up at the organ with her. And I really liked choirs because I felt like I've always been like I'm a little more like I guess I'm a shy guy. I am shy when I'm performing. Like, I sometimes like look down when I'm playing guitar and like, don't look at me, don't judge me. And choirs gave me that sense of stability. So I learned really quickly like how to fit into a choir and build and stack with my voice. But I never developed like that courageous like lead singer voice. So over the years, I fit in really well just like singing harmonies. And when I recorded stuff, I would very quickly like stack oohs and ahs and like get into the math of it and just like make it work. And I thought that if I, and I'm driving in my car as a kid, like I would just sing harmonies over everything, just like very aggressively. I would never sing the melody because every time I did, I'd be like, why is it off? Like, oh no, it's not the same. It doesn't sound like the lead singer. And I'm like, don't, just sing a harmony. And it's your own unique way of looking like you're a good musician. And like, I had this bad mentality that you should never try. And Kyle, like, you are always going to be stay in your lane, bro. And like everyone I worked with over the years, like in Toronto and whatever, like touring, I could always offer my hand as like a guy who could sing harms, or show someone what that harmony would be, whether I'm doing it or not. And then when it came down, the funny part about like when you go into the studio, sometimes you have to, there's those expenses, these expenditures on like, well, we need to get like a steel player, and we need to get a banjo player, and like country or whatever genre, you need to get a backup singer. We need someone to do some oohs and ahs. Like, can we get them in for the day? Like, don't forget about his wage and stuff. And I've been able to cut a bunch of corners out with that, because like when I'm done, once I figured out that when I sing, I can really, if I just push from here and like just add a little bit of that, I can hit any note I want. I actually realized, holy crap, I can hit most of the notes I want to hit, and it's good enough. But then once I quiet my voice down, there's just this lump in the middle. So there's my up here intense, I can hit anything. And then once I quiet down and use my head, I guess you would call it head voice. Yeah. Like, Al, you're one of the best. You're one of the best harmony guys I've ever met. Like that sweet voice, that sweet spot. Like I've always tried to revel in that and make it the best it can be. But there's this, hey, Kyle, like play that song for me. How does it go? There's that lump in the middle where I'm like, I'll sing and I won't be able to like hold a note. It'll just falter off key. And it was very discouraging. So now that it works with punk rock where I can sing up here, as soon as I'm done leads, I go just right into harmonies. I do all the harmonies, all the high ones right away. Like it takes me less time to do the harmonies than it does to do the leads. Like it takes me less time to stack oohs, and then I get a couple people in, do the gangs, and then I'm like, I feel like I'm like a band teacher where I'm like, I count them in with this and then like this, and then Josh will be behind the board. Like we do all the vocals and drums in Kitchener. Okay, and then I go to North Bay and do the guitars with Brent. That's where Brent lives. So when we do all the stuff in Kitchener, just the raw stuff, we get around the space, and like Josh is basically like, he knows that I'm gonna get a little weird, and he just like hits R and just like resets, hits, like he just controls the board, and I'm just like, okay, everyone, and I do the whole thing, and so now we're gonna do a whole take of this note. Hold it with me. Okay, now we're gonna do a whole take of this and this, and I get right into it, and then we're done, and then the end result is like that saved me paying like, I don't know, a really good singer to come in and do it or whatever. Like I can do the harms better than I can do the leads, and then finding my key is pretty intense, because I can't just sing in any key. Like sometimes I don't know how good my range is, but I can't sing as high as you. Al, I can't.
I don't know, man. You've got a lot of different like timbres, and the range is huge. Like you can do the lower stuff, you can do the see, I've never been able to get the higher scream stuff. Like that's what I want to be able to do. Everybody wants what they don't have, right?
It's like,
but that's exactly it. Yeah.
Like you got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I've been trying to figure it out lately, but it's just it's sweet that you have that, and I want to get it. So please tell me how.
It's a lot. You gotta be more like less regrets about how consecutively you drink whiskey. Whiskey. You gotta take months and months, just drink whiskey every day in small amounts, and just yell at the dogs, yell at the chipmunks, yell at things just arbitrarily, and get in fights with people in the lineup at the grocery store, just verbal arguments about social distancing, and you got to be that guy. Conflict creates horsey voice. Yeah. No, I don't think it does. But I think having a voice, like I never had a voice. Like I didn't like my voice, so I never knew that it had like its own thing. Like I always wanted to sound like the best guys I played with. Like, oh, well, it doesn't sound like him. So like he's pretty much, look at how successful he is, and people are listening to his stuff. Like I must need to try and find that. But then I listened to some of my favorite bands, and I realized like they are who they are because that guy had a kind of maybe a unique voice. Like it was a little different than the status quo. And I'm not saying that my voice is like so unique and like so special, but I found a way to kind of make it work for me where I don't feel completely angry listening to myself. So
that's the thing. I think it's just finding a way to make it work. Whatever it is. It's like Neil Young. It's like, I mean, like, I love his voice, but if he wasn't doing that thing, it'd be kind of weird, you know?
Mm-hmm.
If he was in a metal band.
Yeah, I think it's...
How weird is it, man? Sorry, Bruno. I was just gonna say, like, side note, like the day after I saw you at Motion Ball this past year, like 2 days later, COVID hit. Like, it was like so scary. All this stuff happened, but I saw you, like, that was the last time I saw you. It was right when that happened, like that night, pretty much. They were talking. So weird. Okay, anyways, back to what you were saying. You were dressed so nicely. I'll never forget.
We were at a busy thing. That was the problem. The thing is, we were at a busy thing. I was right in a crowd. You know, you were in the crowd, and
you were like, you were doing this. You were doing like the dance and doing the pistols. People were watching you, man.
The fucking pistols. That is my move.
And I was wearing a T-shirt. We came from a Leaf game. I forgot my suit. I'm like,
yes.
We need to play. I was dressed so not casual. It was embarrassing. Like, everyone was dressed so nice.
To be honest, I didn't even know what the thing was that we were playing. You know, like, I was like, what is?
Oh.
Is this it? Like, I rolled up and I'm like, this is like a nice venue.
It's a gala.
You know, like,
it's a full out gala.
Yeah. I've never been to
You seemed a little deer in headlights, though. You look good, but like, you seemed very like.
I was just like, what?
Oh, hey, man.
Fuck is
sitting
this?
Here.
There are other bands
on the couch. Oh, what are these guys? I'm just over here on the couch. It was good.
They had a green room that had a couch. I was happy about it.
And an open bar.
Coca-Cola. Yes, they did have an open bar, but I was driving. It's bullshit.
Oof.
Gotta live in Toronto, though.
Yeah, you gotta live in Toronto. What were you saying before I
don't know,
Sorry,
but I have a different question now. So
yes,
can we chat real quick? Because we are running out of time. I gotta be out of here in a bit. But and so does Mike. But yeah. So the marketing side of things, you've sort of alluded to that a little bit, and I'm curious what your approach is to market the project and what your expectations were when you set, because everybody says, oh, it's like, I don't care about the, I just want to make music, and that's true, and that's great, but I think it's also important to have expectations about how you're going to market it and a strategy, and I think you have a very good mind for that, and I'm curious to pick your brain on what that side of it was for you.
I didn't want to like taint the songs, and I didn't want to taint the kind of like organic nature of them, and so I tried a very like kind of an organic approach to like marketing it. And I have a really, really sweet employee at KLH, like the company I kind of run the small business, and his name is Jaden, and he's from up here in Muskoka. Actually, we met last year, and him and I got together and just like kind of decided what we're gonna do as an internet band, how we're going to market this, and where I'm not going to spend money and where I'm not going to care about what people think. And he is very smart about how he reaches out to people in different cities internationally. And so I first thing I said is, I definitely want to like upload the songs to streaming and like, reach out, get on some playlists and try our best to make that happen. But first of all, like, I don't want to, for the next 6 months, I don't want to release a song without a video, no matter what. Not just going to release, and I'm not going to release a collection of songs. We're going to just release, even though I released 3 at once, I released Three-Way Stop as a single. So I was like, until we do anything else, it'll just be singles after this little 3-song EP. So I made a video, uploaded the video to Facebook and to YouTube. And then the song got on a bunch of pretty cool playlists. But we did it, we do like the nice big email blast. I took like a list of people that I've known for like since 2009 that I've met in Toronto, like Canadian and Vancouver, and not as many, I don't know as many American industry peeps. They kind of discovered the band through whatever, but like mostly just Canadian industry people who are like, hey, like, how you doing? You still kicking? Great. Like, we made a nice media kit, very clean looking, like, here are the songs, here's everything. We did that kind of traditional route that any management company would do. And I just immediately said, like, I will not buy followers. I will not buy streams. I will not get some company in Dubai to like sit there and click over and over on my YouTube video, because the last thing I want is for these like things that like, I don't know, thinking back on the stories themselves, that how much it kind of makes me friggin' cry. Like, there's some of this, I don't want to ruin that. Like, I don't want to take this, like, make this fake wall in front of us. So Jaden and I literally did grassroots reach out, like very grassroots. And I firmly believe that if the product's good enough and the songs are good enough, then you can do a nice slow marathon, nice and slow.
Yeah.
Get a few followers. Every time we release something, we get a couple hundred followers, and that's all I care about. I care that the people that are actually following the band, when I send a blast out or when I post a picture, that they are like fuck yeah, man, the Crease Rule's doing this. Not like, I really just don't give a shit about being internet obsessed with your product. Like, you know what I mean? I want people to enjoy it. So that goes back to me saying, like, Jaden does a lot of the ins and outs, internets and friggin' hashtags. He finds things that appropriately would suit our band and our kind of whatever, and we reach out organically, say hello and say, like, dude, your tunes are great. I try to handpick bands that I think are really good bands in the punk rock scene and see if they'd be down to, like, one day maybe we come out to Edmonton and hang with you because your songs are great, and do that. It's all that. But it helps to have this nice big moving train from the product, from the song, from the people spinning it. Like, that word of mouth is so much more important than me spending $1,000 on 4 or 5 different graphics and just like, listen to this. Hey, listen to the band. Content. You really got to watch how you do that. I've done it. Like, I've on a launch day for Sitting Ducks during COVID, one of the other videos, Drink Alone, we made a video. Every song I make a video, when we launch it on Facebook, I'll toss $20 just to get the ball rolling right off the bat. Just toss $20 and for that day kind of thing, right? But aside from that, once you get your community sharing it, it just spread. I just want to spread from a community base. Like, I don't really care. It's a blessing that people listen to it in Chicago, and we got on like iHeartRadio on the Western U.S. seaboard. There's like a punk channel on iHeartRadio, and I think that's so cool. But I wasn't like, I really didn't spend a lot of money on that. I think it's just more organic. So I market the band as good Canadian boys who just love sharing loud, honest stories.
I love the good Canadian boys part of it.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying before. Like, do not lose that. That's one of the best parts about it.
Yeah,
we will not, man.
One of the things that it kind of sounds like too is like, this is what I've heard from what I've read about like advertising stuff online in general too. It's like more important to have a select few that are passionate than it is to be like, I have like 10,000 followers. It's like, if you have 1,000 followers that are just like, band's the shit, and every time they do something, I'm gonna go watch it and support it. It's like way more powerful.
So special, it's so much special.
Better.
Like,
and
that says that, like, we when we released Three Way Stop in January, we did late January, we did our like EP release, and it was the first show Crease Rule ever played. I had like 10 shows lined up all through spring and winter. Then COVID hit, but we got our one show in, and it was at Handlebar in Kensington Market. I don't know if you've ever been there.
Oh, okay, yeah, maybe I have.
It was one of those things where I had a good option. I had options for lots of venues. I had like, I could have gotten into Sneaky D's. I could have done it at Hard Luck. Could have done it at like the Piston. Could have done it at where'd you do yours again? The Pilot.
The Pilot.
There are a few spots. Yeah, great venue. But there were a few options, right? And we went with Handlebar because it's small, but it was like 150 cap. 150 cap, nice long bar. They were doing a brewery. This one brewery was doing a tap takeover. They were not big in the city. They're from Whitby. What are they called?
They were doing Paddles.
No, the other one.
Oh, no, Brock Street Brewery.
Town.
Town.
So Town Brewery.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. They were doing a big Toronto push. They're like, we want to do a show in Toronto. So they came and did a tap takeover. But I'm still sitting there like, okay, this is brand new. Keep your expectations low. No one's going to come. There's probably going to be like 20 people here. And that's fine because we're still going to play so loud. And the stage, it's a corner stage. There's like 3 guitar players. It was so like awkward and uncomfortable. Right before we went out, I hadn't had beers in like weeks. I was sober, like just doing the Crease Roll, trying to make sure it works. And I was like, because I care about it, right? I was like, oh, it's pure. Like I care about it. And then I went out like for a walk to get a sub, and I came back. And the place, they had to call a security guard to come and like hang at the bar because they were like 40 over capacity. So we were at like $1.80. And I don't know what it was. And that's not me bragging. That was me more being like, see, like the people who like it, and they want to come and watch it. Yeah. And that's all I could ask for. And I got super nervous, and I had like 4 pints in like half an hour. And that for me, like not drinking for weeks, I got on stage, man. Couldn't hear a thing in my monitors, so I just started doing the whole set like, I was like screaming all the lyrics. It didn't clear out, thank God, but there were people that showed up that I'd never met before, and they were like, it was so cool to see, like, to feel that feeling when we were younger, like being part of like a rock community, like a small community of like music. It just was so important, man. Like, it's just so vital to like getting older and being a musician and being an artist. It's so important to have that. So it worked out.
The connection, the original connection to music, because to some extent I've definitely lost that. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm a professional musician now, but like the reason why I got into music is like so obscured, you know, like, so it's cool that you've rediscovered that.
And that's all I wanted to do, man. I hit 30, had a really, really, really rough 2019. It's like health-wise, a lot of bad stuff happened, and I came out of it like, I just need to write songs. Songs, and I don't care. I've made it work this long. Like, I don't care if between 30 and 40 my life falls apart. I made it to 30 and I'm still alive.
Yeah, you made it past 27, buddy.
There you go, right?
Yeah, you're in for a long
time. Winehouse. Yeah,
right in the pocket.
But it's cool, man. I've enjoyed it, and like, I enjoy like collaborating now, like verbally with people on how to make it, what's next. Like, it's so fun to cook up songs and ideas, and just hearing good musicians that I respect talk to me about it and ask me like, hey, what'd you do here, or something like that. That is such a validating feeling, man, because I have never been a good side guy. I have been the guy that plays G chords and sometimes does harms, but like, no one ever calls me and they're like, hey man, like, I was told to call you because you're a sick guitar player, or hey man, I heard you're like the best at bass in Toronto, or hey man, like, you're this and that and this. Never. I was always a guy who could just kind of go and do whatever, and whenever I got jobs. But there, you know, it felt good to, like, when you have songs that you're proud of and you pull it all together, like, at least I could be like, well, I have the crease roll, I guess. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, so, and you found what your thing is. You know, it's like,
exactly.
Like, this is me.
Isn't that what we're all doing? You know,
my thing is, you know, we were told to call you because your brother's a really good guitar player.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've heard, you know, many times I'm like, who's on the gig, and they like try to remember which one. They're like, the guy with the better one with the Hawaiian shirts. The better one, no.
Fucking Will Hebs.
No. Yeah, fucking.
There was this one thing. This one dude did, like, it was during a cover show, and he's like, you know, we're gonna do a solo introduction for everyone in the band, and his solo introduction was just talking about my brother.
Oh my god,
it was the best.
And this guy plays for Amanda Marshall, has played for this, and this is his brother.
Yeah,
give it up for his brother.
For Will Hebs' brother.
Oh my god,
Will Hebs'. That's so
my
funny,
self-esteem.
Man.
My self-esteem is just. That's okay though.
Yeah,
you know,
you're a great guitar player.
I do my thing.
You're a better guitar player than I am.
My thing is same thing. I'm still trying to figure out my niche. You know, like, it's like I play keys, and you know, I've been doing a lot more production, and you know, I got an OnlyFans. No, I'm kidding. That's my new thing. I'm gonna hype a non-existent OnlyFans.
I've got an OnlyFans.
That's my thing. Lots of pictures of my dick.
Showing a little chat. Yeah, there's lots of dick pics, and I'm a guitar player.
I feel like I'm just gonna start an OnlyFans, but I'm just gonna steal other dick pics. You know.
Dude, do it, man. That's where it's at. Just make sure that you don't go, like, don't type in dick pics and take the first, like, 10. You got to go deep into this website so that people don't find that exact stock image with the data on it.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that could be the thing, though. Times. I'm cultivating. Maybe I'm just cultivating portfolio of dicks. You know, maybe that's just my OnlyFans. It's just.
And it's a folder on your desktop that's like sick dicks.
I'm not going to pretend I don't already have that folder.
Oh, sorry, Al. Sorry about Bruno.
We're crushing it.
We're smashing it.
This is my favorite podcast, short of Spit and Chicklets and Joe Rogan. This is the best podcast.
There you go.
We'll take that.
I've heard good things about Spit and Chicklets.
It's so funny, man.
It's so funny. If you like hockey,
it's though, right? So
It is a hockey thing, yeah.
I wish I liked a sport. I missed the boat. You know, I missed the fucking boat.
Yeah.
What happened?
I don't know what it is. It's not because I'm a contrarian. It's just I never watched them growing up, and now.
You grew up in Ajax?
Yeah, I grew up in Ajax, and then I moved to Whippy, and
What? That's like, like you literally know like Iroquois Center, like Joe Newendike, Gary Roberts, Bob McKenzie. That was like their hub. Like that was one of the biggest hockey cities in Canada. No excuses. Fuck.
No excuses.
Whatever, man.
So just to like, if we could put a cap on that marketing discussion, like, and talking about niche and talking about all that kind of stuff, I think like, at least for me, the realization that you don't have to be the McDonald's of the music industry, like you don't, your thing doesn't have to be the biggest thing in that genre, or the biggest thing in the world, or like,
why would you want it to be?
Well, I mean, people look at the Beatles, they get inspired by the Beatles when they're younger or whatever, and they're like, I want to be that. I want to be in the biggest band in the world, And that's a fair. I mean, that's a fair aspiration. But for me, just the realization that like you don't have to be that, and even as a side musician, you don't have to be the best guitar player. I'm certainly not. You don't have to be the best singer. Yeah. I'm certainly not. I'm a middling keys player, you know what I mean? But I can put things together in a way that works for the jobs that I do. And I think in the sense of, or even this podcast, like we're not going to be,
oh my God,
we don't need to become the Joe Rogan of music podcasts. Like that's fine. You know what I mean? If we have a following that's dedicated, like you said, Kyle, it's like, then that's all that matters. And I think that people have their eyes always on the horizon, which isn't necessarily always a bad thing, but I think people look without their community rather than within to sort of for, I guess like opportunities for themselves, or just like where they could find work, or who they could share their music with, or who they could maybe like hire to create with or play on their record, or like what shows should I check out? It's like, oh, I should check out my buddy Kyle's show because he's part of my community. I'm not, you know what I mean? It's like I think people take that for granted.
Yeah.
And for me recently, it's been like I need to like look back within my community and sort of get involved in the music of other people and support, and because you're not going to get that back if you don't give it, right? And like,
you know what I noticed? You're talking about this now. It makes me think like, I would say 100 people. I know so many people. I have so many friends. I have tremendous amounts of friends, but 100 people had both the EPs well before they were even out. And that is my community. And some will say, oh, like you got to focus on your release. Like you can't like have this out and in people's inboxes, or else it'll affect your numbers and this and that. And I just like that comes back, like my community, like will listen to it as soon as it's done. And they'll be the ones to say it's actually pretty sick. And then it's for the people I don't know that I put it on the streaming platform, that I put it on.
Yeah.
And like when you tell a new artist, if you tell a brand new artist, like what I try to tell any new person I'm working with that is so green, that has never played a guitar, that has never sung in their lives, I literally try to like rein them in a little bit and go, why don't just take this time now? This is such a special time. Like you're going to be discovering all these new things. Like just enjoy it. Enjoy the people around you. Share your songs with people. Like don't think that you need to go from here to here. We discussed that. Or just enjoy your community. Enjoy the people around you. Like it doesn't matter.
That's the best part.
It is, man. That's what makes you like. And then when you get to see a nice gradual build, slowly and surely, people start to maybe it does start to get bigger and bigger, or maybe who knows, in the year, maybe the Crease rolls on tour with a sweet, huge band from the States that I've always loved, and it's like I'm touring with my idols. That's my dream. I've always had that dream. Like I want to open up for NoFX on a festival. That's like my dream with the Crease roll. Wouldn't that be great? But like, I'm not going to spend like,
you're not going to like try to fucking like some fucking scheme to get in a room with like the lead singer and like, I don't know. Like, I know what you're saying. Yeah. Like you're just going to keep doing your thing. And maybe if that becomes a thing, great.
Yeah. And that's what makes it special. the what ifs, for once in my life, the what ifs are more positive and encouraging, because over most of my life, the what ifs are like, what if there's a tornado and it wipes my house out?
Yeah.
Or like, that was my fear as a kid. Or like, what if I don't get that gig and then I don't have that money coming in and then I have to go and do this other job? Or now the what ifs are like, I've done all these things for years to make sure that myself, like, I'm set up financially. And now the careers role is just, all that is just what I love. And I would like, what if, like, oh my God, what if Fat Mike saw it from NoFX and he like said, hey guys, like, come play Punk and Drublic Festival. Like, I always think of those things now, and it makes me a happier person just to organically like, but not everyone gets to do that, because you have to build yourself into a person that can mentally sustain. You can't just jump in and be like, you know, we were all 19 once, thinking that when we toured and made $50 a show or $20 a show and we had one pair of jeans, that like, it's all going to get better from here. But how much work does that take to make it better and better and better and better? Like, it takes so much resilience. Mm-hmm. So why not start a band at 30 instead of 20?
Yeah. We're never gonna let go of it, man. I think that's what it's all about, though.
That's the secret sauce.
All right,
never letting go.
Ed, what do you put in your sauce? Well, first I start with some mayonnaise and some pickles. No, Good Burger? No.
Oh, man,
Good Burger.
It's been a long time.
Yeah. It's a very long. I don't know that quote, but I've seen Good Burger.
I saw it when I was very young, though.
Ed saves Good Burger with the sauce. Sorry, go ahead.
If I got to split, because I got to start a music stream actually in about 10 minutes. But
sick. I gotta go to the dump and drop off some stuff.
I thought you were talking about taking a dump.
I'm a redneck. Yeah.
Before we wrap it up, Kyle, I know you're a huge hockey fan. Okay.
Yep.
And I am in a pool tonight. This is and I just got to find the notes here. Hold on one second. Oh man, I'm wrecking.
Lovely.
I'm ruining it. I'm ruining everything.
The flow is gone.
The flow is gone. Oh, here it is. Okay, I'm in a pool tonight, and it's a playoff pool and whatever. So, Vegas versus Chicago. Who wins?
Wayne Gretzky.
Wayne Gretzky. So tonight, the Chicago Blackhawks are going to beat the Vegas Golden Knights.
Okay, but what about the series?
It's going to happen.
What about the series?
The series?
Yeah.
It's a best. Is this a round robin game, or is this?
This is best of 7. Best of 7.
With this type of situation, you're going to get. I think you're going to get the Knights squeezing it out in 6 games. Chicago's going to come in and win early, a couple of them at least. But you're going to see Vegas. They have that sustainability as a roster. They are diehard.
Nice.
They work harder.
Is Fleury going to play goal for the most of it?
Yes.
Okay. Colorado, Arizona.
I don't think Colorado and Arizona. The Colorado Avalanche are going to stomp the Arizona Coyotes.
Fair. That's what I thought too.
Yeah, they are, because you're gonna see Cale Makar, Nathan McKinnon, and Rantanen. They're gonna light it up.
Sick. Dallas versus Calgary.
This is a tough one, because Dallas right now is a dumpster fire, so we're not seeing a lot of cohesion amongst the ranks. So I think what you're going to do is you're going to see Calgary. Like, Calgary is fast, but they're not super skilled. They drop off after the first line. I would still put money as a playoff team. I would put money on the Dallas Stars. So I would say Dallas in 7.
Okay. St. Louis, Vancouver.
St. Louis is going to win that series in 5 games.
Wow. See, I kind of thought they would win it as well, but they just went 0-3 in the round robins. St. Louis did.
I know, but they're defending Stanley Cup champions, and that round robin means shit to them. They're like, chill, save your batteries, let's go in hard. The Canucks, they had an axe to grind, so they made it through. They're not a bad team. They're young guys, but ultimately the Blues experience is going to take down the Canucks. They're not going to make it past this round.
I like it. Philadelphia, Montreal in the East.
Okay, so Montreal's a dumpster fire. They're probably the worst team in this. They won that round robin. It was great. They beat the Penguins, but the Penguins, they were not something to be taken seriously in the first place. Like, they just their time is done. Montreal's got a younger core, so they worked a little harder on that best 3 out of 5. So the Philadelphia Flyers, it's their time, man. I think you're going to probably see Philly make a deep, deep run. They are so determined, and their core is super strong. And Carter Hart's one of the best goaltenders in the NHL. It's fucking dynamite, lights out.
Good Spit and Chicklets reference there. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say because they play each other in such a unique way, I'd say Philly in 6.
Okay. Tampa Bay, Columbus.
So we all saw what happened last year where the Columbus Blue Jackets beat the best team in the league in 4 games.
Yeah.
That will not happen again. We saw Columbus, the Leafs lost to Columbus because the Leafs they're just fucked up and weird, and Tampa Bay will never let that happen again. Columbus also, they won that series because of guys like Panarin and Duchesne who had that clutch goal scoring, and that was the 1-goal games that Duchesne, Panarin, they're gone. So you're going to see they're just going to be hemmed in their own zone, and Kucherov and Stamkos are going to be sending those one-time clappers everywhere. They're going to lose the Columbus. The Blue Jackets are going to lose in 5.
Yeah, fair enough. I agree. Washington, New York Islanders. This is interesting.
Islanders will win this series in 7 games.
Okay. Really?
Trust me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ovi's race to pass Gretzky was severely interrupted by COVID. And a lot of naysayers are now like, yeah, it's definitely not going to happen. So you're going to see an Ovechkin who's like, I don't want to win the COVID Cup. I just want to stay in my hotel room before COVID's done, kind of thing. I think you're just not going to see them play very well.
Okay.
Islanders, Josh Bailey, Canadian boy, and his team, they want a cup so badly. They really want a cup in New York.
Yeah,
they really do.
And they've got they've got a lot to prove after losing Tavares, even though that was 2 years ago or whatever. But they still feel like yeah.
And they have great goaltending in the island. So
right on. Okay, and last one is Boston, Carolina.
Okay, interesting. So Boston in that play-in round, I don't think they were taking it too seriously. They're saving their batteries as well. They don't really care about seeding.
Yeah. The
Bruins are such a good team. Carolina is very, very cohesive. They are a unit. They are a unit team. There's something so special about the Hurricanes. I really don't think they can beat Boston. I think they're going to win a couple, though, so they'll probably push it. I think Boston in 6, unfortunately.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yep.
All right, thank you. That helps me greatly with my
something to think about. Bruno, you got anything to add to the hockey talk here, bud? You got
yeah, keep your stick on the ice and sharpen your skates.
You should always sharpen your skates, and your stick should always be on the ice.
Yeah, that's good advice.
So you can tap it in.
Great advice.
Sorry, man. I just had to take it there. I just had to take it there, Bruno. I apologize.
There's a line in Brotherhood, though, if you listen to it again. It's leave your empties here at Christie, where I lived, and then go to the rink, keep your stick on the ice.
I think I did hear that. Yeah. Very important.
Leave your empties here at the house. Don't bring your empties to the rink. We'll drink some there out of our bottles, and keep your stick on the ice.
There you go.
All right.
Wise words from Michael Hebbs.
That's gonna wrap us up for this one. Thanks, Kyle, for coming on. That was a blast. Really enjoyed chatting with you. It's good to see you.
Oh, man. Thank you.
So where can people check out the band, and where can they follow you on social media, etc.?
We're on Instagram at thecreaserule.to. There's a link tree in our bio that shows all those videos, all that merch, Spotify, Bandcamp, all the other places like that. We're on Facebook, we're The Crease Rule. On Twitter, we're The Crease Rule. You can type in The Crease Rule on Google now, and it actually shows up in the top 5, which is pretty sweet.
Nice.
So
you're doing something right.
Yes. So special. Google loves us.
There you go.
Yeah.
Little white hat SEO there. Everybody knows that phrase.
SEO, baby.
All right. And you can follow the podcast at Music Guy Podcast on Instagram and Facebook. Our website is musicguypodcast.com for all past episodes. And, of course, the YouTube channel with clips, live streams of the podcast as we record them, and other cool little videos like that. You can follow me at Alro Music on Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, wherever else. And you can find Mr. Michael Hebbs on Instagram at Bruno the Meek, and also on Twitter at Hebbs_Michael.
One tweet.
Yeah.
I just followed you on Twitter.
And
there you go. Read it.
And I tag him in every podcast post. He's there. And michaelhebs.net as well.
Yeah, I got a website.
Thanks everybody for listening. We love you. If you want to support the show, please share it with your friends. It helps us immensely. And we appreciate you guys coming by and listening each and every week. So we'll see you guys next week for another episode of the Music Guy Podcast. Bye for now.